Okay, Ravens and Texans, week 2. We're
This
laughing.
one,
I just messed it up.
they playing in Houston this year?
That's
Oh,
that's in Houston.
okay.
That's in Houston. I
Okay.
don't think this week is going to look much different from week 1 for either team.
Well, look, yeah, I mean, I can see that. Look, I mean, Houston's not, they're not as bad as Cleveland.
No,
They're
they're not.
not. They're division winners for the last 5 years, I think. They got Deshaun Watson. They got some nice receivers. But yeah, I mean, they're a step down from Kansas City and Baltimore, and it's unfortunate for them that they have to start the season with those two.
Yeah, you know, they're a downgrade in talent everywhere except quarterback compared to the Browns, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
I mean,
the
you
Browns
could
have
say.
much better run game, better, more talented wide receivers for sure, and probably a better O line.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, but the quarterback is what matters, and he's worlds better than Baker, so it's going to be a more competitive game just because of Deshaun Watson. And look, we talk Ravens and Panthers a lot on here, but I want to talk about the Texans for a minute. It's very unfortunate if you're a Texans fan to see what's going on right now because that team should be a Super Bowl contender.
Mm-hmm.
They should be a Super Bowl contender. Like you had some pieces on that roster, and you didn't build on it.
Yeah.
There was no reason to ship out Hopkins. There's really no reason to ship out Jadeveon Clowney. If you're going to ship out somebody, ship out J.J. Watt, right?
Yeah.
He's past his prime. You could have still gotten something for him in a trade. Or if not, just let him go. It doesn't matter. You sign Watson, like you add to what you have. That team should not be where they're at right now. Where they can win the division because it's a weak division, but then once they get to the playoffs, maybe a first round win like they got last year, and then that's going to be it. That's pretty much it for them, right?
Right.
It's sad, they just signed Watson to an extension. You guys should really be happy about that. But the best you can hope for is that you have an awful year and they finally fire Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, you just have to hope he outlives Bill O'Brien.
Yeah. Although his contract isn't a long contract, so by the end of it, he could just say, "All right, you guys haven't done enough. Get me out of here."
Mm-hmm.
Or force their hand to make some changes. But well, I want to see from the Ravens. I want to see a more established run game this week. They didn't really get it going last week. They didn't have to.
Yeah.
I want to see some run defense, but again, they didn't. It wasn't that important to them last week.
It wasn't, but you want to see them improve in both of those areas, particularly run defense, because that's what they made the focus of their entire offseason to the detriment of their offense.
Yeah.
They didn't draft T. Higgins because they needed to improve their run defense, right?
Right.
In free agency, they went and they got Derek Wolfe. They went and they traded for Calais Campbell. They traded away a tight end, Hayden Hurst.
Yeah.
And they took that pick and they traded for Calais Campbell. So they didn't improve necessarily. I mean, they brought in Duvernay, and we got to see how he develops. He only had one catch last week, but I think he only had the one target, and it wasn't a big deal.
Right.
But we got to see how they. You want to see those investments that they made in defense pay off. They didn't in week 1. I mean, Cleveland ran all over them. It's just they couldn't run as much as they should have because they were losing the entire game.
Right. So you want to see a better run defense this week. That's what I'm looking for. I want to see improved run defense. Look, I want to see them run the ball well. I want to see them pass the ball well. Probably not going to see both happen today if we're dominating the game, right? If we're running the ball and the game is out in the hand, we'll probably just keep running the ball, right? Mm-hmm. If it's kind of like last week, but we didn't really get the run game going, but we're just dissecting the secondary, we probably won't see a lot of run. So, I mean, we'll see how which way the game goes. But I'm not a big fan of the wide receiver core. I love Hollywood Brown. I still have faith in Miles Boykin, but I just don't think he's really at that level yet, to where I feel comfortable with him being the number 2. But we'll see. Same thing with Duvernay. I don't have that much faith in Duvernay, but I'm rooting for all those guys. So I would like to see them go out there and be more involved in the offense. J.K.
Yeah.
Dobbins, I think, he looked good last week in the limited carries he got, but I don't have any worries about Dobbins.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't want this to sound like it's, we're dismissing the Texans. The
No.
Texans are a talented team, but I
Yeah.
mean, Baltimore beat them 41-7 last year. I'm picking the Ravens. It's not a
Yeah,
spoiler
yeah.
here.
And they got worse. They got worse.
Yeah. So I think that, like we said, Baltimore really needs to look at cleaning up some of the things that didn't go particularly well last week. And I think that they should make it a point to get Boykin and Duvernay involved this week, and Prochet. Get him out there, see how he looks against a live defense, because the real test is next week. And you don't want to be relying on Duvernay and Boykin if they can't get it done against Kansas City.
Right.
Get them out there, throw them the ball, see what happens. And so a little bit more about what you have going into week 3.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So score prediction, I'm going to say 35-17.
Yeah, I mentioned it was 41-7 last year. That Houston did get worse, but I don't think the score is going to be that bad.
No.
I'm going to say Baltimore 28-10.
Okay. Yeah. That's reasonable. Like I said, Deshaun Watson is a type of player that can keep you in games, right? I think last year it just kind of got out of hand, right? It kind of snowballed, right?
Yeah.
But it's possible he could kind of close the gap a little bit, to where it doesn't get out of hand. But he just doesn't have the help.
Yeah, and I honestly do expect Baltimore to get a lead and then really start rolling with the run game and just kind of bleed the clock out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, there you have it. Week 2. We'll see what happens.